In this video, we're going to talk about the index ratio and the sector ratio. So at EPSmomentum.com, we have the ability to compare a stock to its index and its sector. So the underlying sector of our stocks, for example, IBM, that would be technology, and we can plot it on the chart here. So we have the sector and index ratio trend. So the sector being in red and the index, which is the S&P, would be in blue. So it basically tells you if the stock is outperforming the sector or the index or both, right? So you have that zero line here, invisible line really, where it outperforms and then underperforms. You see how it drops you in that region, so it's underperforming, and then it outperforms again during this bull run, and then underperform lately. So the interesting thing is sometimes the sector is above the index, and sometimes it's below. Sometimes it's driven by the sector that beats the S&P, or IBM beats more of the sector and then the S&P. So that's, you can see that that value there. So we are going to add another indicator to this, which is basically just focusing on the S&P, not the sector. We're going to add the slope of that line. So see how this, so that's the index ratio to the S&P trend slope. So that's the trend, and we've smoothed the things even further, because there's a lot of ups and downs when you do ratio from a stock to an index, but the smoothing is important. So here we see some green shoots. There's actually a rally, and then it starts to turn negative before the stocks even turns around. So it's really a clever indicator. So a lot of oscillation here, but let's pick another name. Let's see what result we get on this one. Yeah, so on this one, maybe it's a little bit clearer here. You have outperformance on the index starting here. The slope is very, very positive, still positive all the way. Little negative here, so there's a plateau where market does a little bit better. That's because of the earnings. A little negative here, it's kind of plateauing, and then bullish, and it's actually bullish, but it looks like the market is rallying more than the other. I mean, rallying more than the stock, so it's underperforming a little bit. So this is very useful to see where we are. So you have the ability to monitor this on the advanced quote, where you can see if it outperforms the S&P, if yes or no, and for how many days, for 4 days or for 1 day, or so that is really really useful there. Tells you if really the stock is outperforming the index. On the screener, it's the same thing. You can filter on any of those values. So I can just type index, and then on index I can pick the actual ratio, the sector, which I see here. As you can see, this variable is very it's very erratic, and so we need to do some smoothing. So here's the trend first. So that's really like an percentage of performance, I would say. And then out of that, you also have the trend slope, which is what you have here on the chart. So it's basically, is the trend increasing, decreasing, negative, or positive? So you'll see it here. So that's the trend you have there. So obviously I can filter and say I just want the positive ones or greater than 0, and I want to focus on the ones that I don't know, for example, therapeutic. I can click on that, and then I have a positive slope, and depending on the value, I mean, I can have a high value, that means it outperforms a lot, so 44 is a lot. But if I pick this one, for example, auxiliary rate. So I think it's going to be flat. See, it's very, very flat. So that's the scale of it. So where you want it to point very high up, like a 73 here. Well, that's a $3 stock, so let's not do this one. But say, for example, report share predict, that's I think the one we had before. So 14, it's pretty significant, and you can see the slope here, and it's outperforming the index. So that's on the sector. You can do the same for the S&P. So you remove those columns and you pick the S&P. So you take first the ratio to SPY to the S&P. Again, hard to read. And then you take the same thing with the trend. So that's what you have here in blue. So you have the trend in percent, and then the actual slope, so index ratio trend, which you have here. Actually, that was on the sector, that was the index SPY trend. So yeah, again, I can filter on this and pick the one that are outperforming, what is with a positive slope, and really pick for example DigiNex 63, and I can see like positive slope outperforming the market. Very, very useful. All right, I hope you find that useful, and let us know.